All right. Well, first, let me welcome everyone to our beautiful event center in Agoura Hills. It's great to see everyone here tonight. It's our hopes that after tonight's town hall meeting, you'll leave here a little bit better informed of the many resources available to you. You'll have a better idea of what you yourself can do to better prepare for the rainy season. And you'll have a clearer understanding of what your government leaders and organizations are doing to ensure the recovery process is a seamless one, where we can continue to all work together to rebuild our community. My name is Ramiro Adeva. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Agoura Hills. Before we move into the presentation, I'd like to take a quick moment to just say a sincere thank yous to our first responders. As you all know, nearly 1 month ago, this fire rocked the community. And in a time when everyone was looking to get out, our first responders were looking to get in. They were here to fight the fire and protect the community that we all love. And now after the fire, they do remain committed to seeing us through the recovery phase. So on behalf of everyone here tonight, I look to our first responders and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Another thing I'd like to share with you today, I was speaking with Fire Chief Williams the other day, and he mentioned an interesting bit of information that I'd like to share with you. This fire caused the evacuation of over 250,000 people in an 18-hour window. Just think about that for a second. 250,000 people in an 18-hour window. And that's something that's never been seen in the history of the state. When I asked him what the single most critical factor was for making that evacuation possible, his response was the people. It was the community. It was all of you that listened to the evacuation orders and followed directions, and you allowed the first responders to do their jobs. And for that, I think you, the community, also deserve a round of applause. All right, a couple of things on tonight's town hall process. First, we're looking to streamline the typical town hall meeting by minimizing the number of agencies that will formally be speaking at the beginning. This will allow more time for Q&A, which I think is obvious that you all are here for. Second, as you checked in tonight, you were given 2 comment cards. It's our goal tonight that everyone who has a question to ask is given an answer. And obviously that can be challenging to do when we have to put this building out at 8 p.m. So what we're asking is that you write your comments on your card, and at any point during the town hall, you can hand it to one of the city staff members. Now, most importantly, when you're filling out your comment cards, we ask that you check the box for whom the question is being asked. During the Q&A period, we'll go agency by agency. I'll read the question out loud, and the agency will answer. And if for some reason we're unable to answer all the questions tonight, we'll at least have your questions in hand, and we'll post all the answers within a couple of weeks on the city's website. So this way, everyone can be assured their question is heard and addressed, as opposed to not being able to speak at all if a microphone is held and time runs out. So following the Q&A period, we will have a breakout session where you can speak one-on-one with various agency reps that are here tonight, and I believe that you also have a list of those agencies with you as well. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and get started. And I'd first like to invite the Director of Public Works for Los Angeles County, Mr. Mark Estrella.
Well, thank you, Ramiro. I want to thank the City of Agoura Hills and Ramiro for setting up the meeting and giving us an opportunity to address the citizens of Agoura Hills and the surrounding communities. I first want to start out by saying that I really feel for you and for the suffering that you're going through at this time in your lives. Those of you who have lost your homes or perhaps had your homes damaged or just have been displaced by such a tragic event in your community. LA County is your overarching regional help in this. And under the leadership of the County Board of Supervisors as well, and specifically Supervisor Kuehl, she wants you to know we're here. This is job number 1 for Los Angeles County, to restore the communities of Agoura, Malibu, Calabasas, and the unincorporated communities of Los Angeles County. Many of you may not know, but the County of Los Angeles provides regional services across the area, including storm protection, road service, mental health services, and a number of other municipal services that come to your community in cooperation and coordination with the City of Agoura Hills. And I'm proud to be here standing side by side with the city officials and officials from the state of California and the federal government to tell you that we're here to help and that we want to answer your questions. And I think it's very important that we not pontificate too much tonight, but actually listen and hear what your services you need to have. Also, I want to remind you that probably the best way to find out about your individual situation is to get with those that are, ask your questions, but also to get with those that are here representing the county and the city and the state and federal government at the different tables tonight, maybe presenting your specific conditions so they can provide you some wraparound services so you can, again, get back to your normal way of life here in Agoura Hills and the surrounding communities. The Woolsey Fire was an unprecedented event in our fire history. I've been working for the County of Los Angeles for 31 years. I actually worked here in the County Building and Safety Office for many years, interacting with you and with the county and incorporated communities as well. I worked in the Malibu as a part of my career as well, so I'm very familiar with the terrain and the people who live here, and perhaps the culture as well. And I know after being through 3 or 4 of these major events, this was one that was tremendous. 14 miles wide with a footprint of 150 square miles, driven by gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. It's the most destructive fire LA County has ever seen. And that's not something we want to wear as a badge, right? I mean, I don't want to be the one to say I lived through that, but that is what's happened. And it has been devastating. I've had several flights over the area, and I've had reports from our field folks as well as fire and sheriff about the heroics that happened here. Not only the heroes of the first responders, but those of you who helped your neighbors, who took the time and made them safe as well. And I think we all have to give you a round of applause as a community for standing up and taking care of each other as well. So thank you to everybody in the room for caring for your neighbor and standing up during this event. It's a miracle that only a few people passed, and it's still an absolute tragedy that we had the lives lost that were lost in this event. It could have been much worse. As was said, 250,000 people were evacuated. And I know that many of you have lost your homes, have been displaced, as I said, and are currently in the early stages of recovery and rebuilding process. I want to also mention to you, as a fire victim myself, in high school I lost our home to fire in the San Bernardino area, the Panorama fire in the 1980s. I can tell you that it took a long time, and I still to this day think about those events surrounding the loss of my own home. Many times thinking about not getting the pictures out of my house or dreaming of actually getting them. And actually standing on the roof, and even though it was on fire, believing that the house was never going to go away. There's something about that home that's so important to us and to children, especially your own children. It's a significant event, and so I encourage you to also look at the mental health component of this event on your lives. And county mental health is here to help, as well as city folks to help with that part of it as well. So I do understand the loss. I went through it personally, and I've been, as a public service, working on recovery for many years. Our Department of Public Works is a recovery agency, and as such, the County of Los Angeles has stood up our Recovery Coordinating Center. It's led by our CEO and chaired by our Supervisor Kuehl, your Supervisor Kuehl. This Recovery Coordinating Center has been actively working on the fire since the beginning of it. We have formed up multiple teams, and I'm here as the section head of operations for LA County. My section includes community planning, community government relations, an engineering branch, and environmental branch. The services from this section include a housing assistance section for temporary housing, rebuild permits section in which we'll be working with the cities and unincorporated areas to get you back into your homes through the rebuild process. We are running in charge of the disaster assistance centers, and we also have a health and human services section in our unit. We have a watershed unit that's looking at the recovery of the watershed, and this includes looking at post-fire situations with mud and debris flow. We've investigated a tremendous amount of structures already that are still standing that could be threatened by mud and debris flow. It's a service of your Los Angeles County Flood Control District. We have an engineering advice group, and I'll give the number here in a minute for that, where if you'd like us to come out and look at your property, whether it's completely raised or if there's a structure left behind, so that we might give you engineering advice for post-fire protection. And we also have a long-term recovery plan being developed in that unit. Our infrastructure group has been hard at work looking at the infrastructure of the area. I know many of you know that we've had 2 bridges lost that affect these communities specifically. Those are really important to me as a director of public works. And I want you to know that we've gone, and today, in fact, today I've authorized the installation of temporary bridges for both locations. It's going to require... Those bridges were authorized under delegated authority by the County Board of Supervisors last Tuesday, in which I'll be able to use emergency funding to put at least some type of temporary bridge in place that will give you recovery and response and emergency access out of the area. It's not acceptable to me as the Director of Public Works that we have roads down. They're important. And they're important to you because it's a part of your safety. So we'll get those done just as fast as we can. We also have a water unit that's looking at the current water condition and working with Los Virgenes Water District. And on the flood control side, the hidden side that you don't see much of, we've got troops out in the field that are currently looking at every debris basin in the area, making sure that it's got full capacity. We're looking at storm drain systems, and like I said, we're looking for local ponding and local potential damage during these recent storms. We have a unit that stood up with Cal Recycle and Cal OES. It's looking at the debris removal program for all of you. I encourage you to get engaged in this program if your property's been burned to the ground or partially burned. We have been warning folks about interacting with materials on the sites. Let's be careful that we don't dig into stuff that we're not sure what it is. And so DTSC is already in the field with our county fire hazmat teams looking at properties and identifying any potential hazardous materials. We'll have those materials removed, and we'll approve the removal of the debris. If you have homeowners insurance, you're going to want to sign up for this program because the program will essentially be free to you, in which you'll be able to give us right of entry. We will then examine the debris, and then we'll have Cal Recycle bring in contractors to actually remove the debris from your property so they're ready and set to go for rebuild. I personally witnessed the program in Ventura last year. It was fantastic. We are currently setting it up. It will also include interacting with your insurance companies for you. So this is a program you want to know more about, and we'll have someone come up and give you more details to sign up for that program as it evolves. We also have our public health officer involved in my unit. So you can see the unit, the section that I'm in charge of in the county is very, very active. It's a community-based section. I have my chief from that, one of my chiefs here from that section. I want to make sure you all know Mr. John Kelly, who's here tonight. John, if you could stand up. John is a resident of Agoura Hills. He lives on Liberty Canyon. He's a longtime employee of the County of Los Angeles, and he's out advocating for me for you. Look for John in the field. If you have specific areas or concerns in your community regarding any of the areas that I just talked about, you can contact John at the Disaster Assistance Center, and we will get right on it, making sure we're aware of it, and we're coordinating with the city as well as the state and federal officials to take care of whatever issue you might have. By the way, John is the one that identified the bridges as